Zohran Mamdani's long-shot victory at the Democratic and the NYC mayoral primary has sent shockwaves across the Democratic Party. Party insiders, bigwigs and strategists have been quick to temper discussions around what Mamdani's success says about their policy and communications. Now, however delusional the centrist Dems have been in response pales in comparison to the total meltdown that's come from the American right wing, who have said some pretty crazy reactions to some pretty simple social democratic policy and shock horror, a Muslim becoming mayor of one of the most diverse cities in the United States. US President Donald Trump posted this characteristically unhinged tirade on his Truth Social platform yesterday. It's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zohran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Democratic primary and is on his way to becoming the mayor. We've had a radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. He looks terrible. His voice is grating. He's not very smart. He's got AOC +3. Dummies all backing him. And even our great Palestinian senator, Korean Chuck Schumer, is groveling over him. Yes, this is a big moment in the history of our country. Which, to call Zohran Mamdani a communist for doing basic social democratic policy has real, like Jeremy Corbyn 2019 broadband communism vibes about it. You're providing a service free at the point of use. That must be communism. Is the NHS healthcare communism now? To be fair, Red Scare tactics are nothing new. Trump called Joe Biden a communist and a radical leftist. This seems to be the default insult for anyone to the left of Attila the Hun as far as US conservatives are concerned. However, Charlie Kirk was on Megyn Kelly's channel with some comments that were far more racialized in nature.
The two financial power centers of the West are obviously London and New York. And are we really going to have two Muslim mayors of the major financial power centers of the West? Like, let's just take a pause and take a step back and what does that say and what does that mean? And people say, well, it's irrelevant that he's Muslim. Well, you said it best. He wants to globalize the Intifada. And by the way, that just means globalized terrorism. He is the first mayoral candidate of any significance to say that he supports sanctions of Israel. I want you to understand that. That is America's most Jewish city, New York, and he wants to sanction Israel. And we're not allowed to mention that he's also Muslim. I'm sorry, that actually matters a lot. And he should be put on the record and ask questions about not just his faith, but also, do you think that it's good that we're continually importing hundreds of thousands of people that don't import our values? And you look at Ilhan Omar. Is Ilhan Omar a good example of someone that has pride and patriotism and gratitude for our country? It's not a good track record so far. And from Mamdani, you're seeing someone that has resentment-driven politics, super bad economics, terrible economics. But dare I also say, a radical cultural orthodoxy that is going to be introduced into America's largest city, one that will not make it a safe place for Jews, not a safe place increasingly, I think, for Western values and potentially Christians. And to say that you are in favor of boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning Israel in America's most Jewish city, and it's just a coincidence that that guy happens to be Muslim, yeah, I think that's complete rubbish. And final point I'll say is this, is that London is a captured city. I don't know if you've been there recently, Megyn, but awful. It is a husk of its former self. It is terrible. And I don't like the fact that I go to Piccadilly Square and I see more Arabic than I see English, that I see more stores that are Yemen, Omani, Saudi Arabian. That is a conquered and a captured country. And Mamdani has to run on his own merits. He's his own individual person, but he has not given any indication that he is anything but a radical socialist and someone that is trying to continue the Mohammedan march in the West. Individual Muslims can be great members of American society. We all know them. But in the macro, in the big picture, are we really benefiting the more that we are importing Islamists into the West? I say no, and I think we should have a lot of caution making a Muslim socialist the mayor of America's largest city.
Now, this is obviously just pure Islamophobia. That's all that this is, right? In so many things here. So first of all, this link between, he says he's anti-Israel, he supports BDS. This is a very Jewish city in America. I'm sorry, but there is no link between the international Jewish community and what the actions of the state of Israel are, right? BDS is specifically a response to the actions of the Israeli state and the way it treats Palestinians. It has nothing to do with American Jewish citizens who don't have any say over the actions of the state of Israel. They are not actors within the entirety of this discussion here. So to bring this up, again, is trying to link the state of Israel to Jewish people, which I don't think is a particularly right-on thing for anybody to be saying. But of course, these America first types really are Israel first types when you get down to brass tacks. Second of all, this idea that somehow there's these captured cities like London and New York City, this is great replacement conspiracy theory stuff, right? This idea that somehow the West will fall because there are people of different faiths or different backgrounds or ethnicities living amongst each other in these diverse communities. And I think that actually the success of cities like New York and London shows you actually that these things don't involve the undermining of quote unquote Western values. And the fact that these are still the great financial centers, they're still bustling metropolises, they're still some of the places where you can get the best food in the world. And yet there haven't been all these kind of doomsaying around the kind of the cultural differences that would lead to tensions. Actually hasn't manifest in the way these people continually said they would, despite the fact these demographics have continued changing, shows that this is just prima facie wrong, what he's trying to say here. And last of all, trying to talk about the importation of Islamism in when you look at people like Sadiq Khan or Zohran Mamdani, when these are people who are vehemently pro-LGBT, right? They are absolutely pro things like women's rights. The idea that these have anything to do with kind of the extremist side of kind of the international kind of Islamic community, for example, the idea this was anything to do with things such as the more fundamentalist parts of like Salafi Wahhabism or whatever, anything like that, is just so obviously wrong. How many Islamists do you know that run on a pro-trans rights ticket? It's just completely at odds with reality, what is being said here. And again, it's purely because there is a man who's doing well at politics, who's going to be potentially the mayor of New York City, most likely, and he's got brown skin and he's the wrong religion. They perceive America not as the secular state, which is part of its constitution, but they see it as a Christian state that is somehow being undermined by the fact that there are people who are migrating to America who just happened to have migrated after all the Europeans migrated, because, of course, it is a country of colonizers, which is, again, it's just pure rank hypocrisy, and it is only, as far as I am concerned, reheated Islamophobia from the post 9/11 era. And that reheated post 9/11 Islamophobia does not stop there. It doesn't stop there. No. Far-right figures Laura Loomer and Marjorie Taylor Greene felt it necessary to be far less erudite in their criticisms. Loomer posted this to X, the Everything app. Zohran Mamdani hasn't even been a US citizen for 10 years. He is literally supported by terrorists. NYC is about to see 9/11 2.0. And my unfortunate namesake, MTG, posted this image of the Statue of Liberty in a burqa. Now, to Laura Loomer's comments, the idea that somehow 9/11 happened again now that there's a Muslim there's a mayoral position. I thought the argument from the right was that the Great Replacement was going to turn Western cities into the new caliphate. And I'm like, well, truly they wouldn't attack it then. But they've won now. Why would there be another 9/11? That makes no sense. He's also not like, where's this idea that he's supported by terrorists? Because, of course, they believe that anyone who believes that the Palestinians deserve human rights is somehow terroristic. See Yvette Cooper for details on that one. And when it comes to this idea of the Statue of Liberty wearing a burqa, I mean, this is a progressive Muslim candidate who is running this election in the form of Zohran Mamdani, right? This is someone who's socially progressive on lots of the issues that Democrats care about. The idea that this, again, would be linked to the more kind of fundamentalist part of Islam, there's no relation to reality in anything here. And the only reason you'd think this is if you just fundamentally see Muslims as being backward. That's how these far-right, these racist figures perceive Muslims as being entirely backward with not a single kind of modernist bone in their body, which is fundamentally untrue when you actually look at Zohran Mamdani's positions. Stephen, what do you make of all of this nonsense cope coming from the right wing in the wake of Zohran Mamdani's successes?
I just need to tell you something, Helena. I am in too much of a good mood because of Zohran Mamdani. I'm also like a little bit in love. So I'm not going to let these racist, lunatic morons who once visited Piccadilly Square and Leicester Crescent and Tottenham Court Circus ruin it. I mean, fundamentally, what these people are about is division. It's extremely important for them politically to have people as divided as possible. What Mamdani stands for is unity, and that is the thing that terrifies them the most. metropole cities, cosmopolitan cities, they terrify them as well, because they are in fact places where, on the whole, people do live in a kind of unity, multiculturally. Your neighbors are, my neighbors are of a variety of different ethnicities and religions. It's the same across London, except of course in places like Piccadilly Square. So yeah, I just can't take them seriously. But I can tell you what I think is the thing that really, really, really frightens all of them. And it's this. In that election for the Democratic ticket, which Mamdani won, 1 in 5 Jewish New Yorkers voted for him. He won overwhelmingly, despite the ramped up campaign funded by Cuomo's super PAC to discredit him as anti-Semitic. And what that shows is that nobody is buying anymore the relationship between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism that these people want to say, which is that they're the very same thing. They are not the same thing. And all those people who voted for Mamdani in New York, and all those people who will vote for him in the mayoral elections, know that now.
Yep, 100%, 100%. I don't think we're going to be seeing many reruns of what we saw happening to Jeremy Corbyn in 2019 again, now that everyone knows the reality of what Zionism entails and what we've seen in Gaza over the past 20 months. You can be sure of that. There'll be obviously be the corners of people who will continue to scream about anti-Semitism when it comes to opposing Israel's crimes against the Palestinians, but that is wearing absolutely thin. And I think the victory for Zohran Mamdani in New York City shows that we will hopefully see that Israel's time as having kind of unilateral support across America will slowly start to wane.